just get ready to finish up our non-conference schedule. We've got Monmouth coming in on Monday. It's an interesting team. King Rice's team has played a really tough schedule. They played, Michigan State and Rutgers and Wichita State. They've only played one home game. They've only won two games, but those two games they won in the last four games, and they beat Seton Hall at Seton Hall. I think it says a lot. They got a great player, and Abdi Bashir Jr., who ranks ninth nationally in scoring, but he's got 30-point games. He had 38 at Rutgers, and 30 at Stevens Point. So he's really tight. I've watched him a little bit, and reminds me a little bit of Chad Baker. Long, can really score the basketball and shoot it, and he's tied for second nationally, averaging 4 3-pointers a game. So obviously he's really good player. And King Rice is their head coach, and of course he played at North Carolina, and that win over Seton Hall was his 10th high major win at Monmouth. So it's an interesting team because they play such a tough non-conference schedule to get ready, for their league, which is one of the better mid-major leagues in in the East, the MAC, or the MAC is how they call it back east. So they play an attractive style, and don't their record kind of goes out the door. Obviously from a reflection standpoint, we're playing good basketball at both ends of the floor. We're sharing it. We're shooting it. I think we're defending it well. We're rebounding the ball a little bit better, and so areas that we can continue to improve on would be transition, offense, and defense, continuing to be able to, as we get ready for the league play, teams in the league really know us, and they'll throw lots of different things at us. We're going to start seeing more zone. We're going to start seeing more run and jump. We're going to see more trapping. We're going to see more things as we get into league play where people are going to not let us kind of do what we do and get us out of our comfort zone. And how well we respond to that, will determine whether or not we keep growing. Staying humble, hungry, and healthy are obviously keys. And today being the first day back now. So today we'll get them back. We'll get them moving. Tomorrow, Saturday, we'll start getting ready for Monmouth. Everybody's back and everybody's healthy.
Bruce, for you, this junior college ruling that came out, obviously, is starting to see guys from a football perspective who said, hey, I've got another year. From basketball, you have two guys that potentially could do this. How do you guys approach that, I guess, now as you don't want to look towards next season, but you have a couple of guys that could potentially take advantage of that?
Yeah, well, like so many of these rule changes, you don't know how they impact each individual. We have three players that have played some junior college basketball: Darren, Chad, and Denver. Chad and Denver are both in the last year of their eligibility, having played 1 year in junior college. So there would be an anticipation that they would qualify, but that's obviously something we're checking into with the SEC office. Darren hasn't played this year, with the idea of potentially being a red shirt. And I don't know what that would even do with his red shirt, because right now, the way I understand it, no matter whether you played 1 or 2 years in junior college, you would only get 1 year back. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking at.
Bruce, you mentioned rebounding. Last couple seasons, defensive rebounding was something you always emphasized on and wanted to get better at. What's been the difference, you think, for your group this year on that end of the floor? Because y'all are rebounding at a really high rate on defense.
Well, I think we're doing a better job with our perimeter checkouts. I think we obviously are longer defensively, and so that helps the rebounding wise. We've got guys like Johni, Cheney, and Dylan, who are all playing more minutes than they did a year ago. All three of those guys are playing more minutes than they did a year ago, and all three of those guys are really good rebounders. Add that to having a little bit more length in the backcourt, so far that's been improved. That needs to continue to improve again as we begin to head into the SEC with our athletes. Monmouth is like the 26th tallest team in the country. They got great length, and they don't start a guy under 6'5", so they'll look a little bit more as far as from a standpoint of their height like an SEC club.
Bruce, what does it say about Tahad that in the biggest games consistently he's coming up and playing his best games?
That he's not, obviously not afraid of the moment, that he's got confidence. I think what happens when you play the best teams on your schedule is every player is challenged a little bit more when you play the best teams on your schedule. And, your best players, your most talented players, those guys are the ones that have a chance to be successful that particular night. Whereas when you're not playing one of your better opponents, everybody's got a chance to be successful because you're better at every position or more positions. When you play the best teams, the best players have got to step up, and it shows you how effective, how quick, how composed he is. Todd's done. His offense is probably a little bit ahead of his defense, just from a standpoint of most freshmen. That would be the case, and he's working really hard to improve, and he has improved defensively.
Talk about what you've seen from Jakai the last few ball games and what you expect, what you expect to see and what you need to see from him.
Yeah, well, Jakai's a really, really talented player, and he's a really hard-working player. And he's got great, great upside. The question is going to be, patience. He's on a team that's ranked second in the country right now, and he's playing the same position as three seniors in Miles Kelly, Chad Baker, and Denver, Jones. And so I think he's done a really good job sort of understanding that he can have great impact on this team. And at the same time, like Tahad, who has had more of an opportunity earlier because we weren't as deep at his position, has got a lot to learn and is learning and is growing. He's improved defensively. He's improved his communication. It's hard to play. For example, with Tahad, I got him playing just point guard right now. He started playing just two when he got here. He then started playing both. Now he's just playing one. And the reason is I've got to limit everything that he needs to know. Jakai is playing both 2 and 3, which then allows him to maybe get some more minutes, but it also makes it more challenging because he has to know more. And that's really, really one of the great challenges for freshmen is it's a lot different than high school from a standpoint of all that you got to know.
Bruce, you obviously wanted to schedule a really tough non-conference schedule. I know you got one more game left, but seeing how the SEC has set up and how good the league is, just how much do you think your guys are going to be able to benefit because y'all went through the grind that y'all have gone through, knowing that, pretty much every night could be a quad one game in the SEC, just the way the league's turned out this year?
Well, I think the two ways to look at it. One, we're going to be continuing a grind. For others in our league, or some of the teams in our league, they're going to be starting a grind because they've not played the schedule that we've played. But about half the teams in our league have played a schedule very similar to ours, not quite as tough, but very similar. I think it's just you take them one at a time. We have got. I think you need to understand who you are. Get your players to go to their strengths, stay away from their weaknesses, continue to, play. Continue to make each other better, and understand it's going to be about matchups. That's one of the things that nobody really completely understands. Coaches don't understand it. Fans certainly don't understand it. Y'all in the media don't understand it. You don't. Why? Certain things match up certainly against certain. It's just because they just do. There are certain way. We play a certain way that bothers certain teams more because of the way they defend and the way they rebound and the way they're set up versus other people. What we do don't bother them at all. And so that's how it has to play out. So one of the things I'm again really pleased about, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of history and making history. In the last 9 years, at least to this point, we're 92-15 with a 8.59 winning percentage in the non-conference, and that leads the SEC. Now we got to win Monday. because I think we lead a couple teams by a game or two, so it's not. But still, to be able to say after 9 seasons, which I won't be able to say till Monday night if we can beat Monmouth, that in 9 years we will have the best winning percentage in the non-conference of anybody in the SEC.
Bruce, year 2, even for freshmen, you can see that, but it works for transfers too. The development. How have you seen Chad's game develop in year 2 and the things he's doing all over the court?
We got a couple guys that are some of the more underrated players in the country. Chad Baker's one of them. He affects the game offensively and defensively. He's got stuff you can't teach. He has it, and that's just a feel. It's a knowledge. He's in the right place at the right time. He makes really good decisions. He's he's a very unselfish basketball player on the floor, you know, I think that he's one of the reasons why we're so good. You know, Denver Jones is another guy that is very, very underrated. He's worked to become one of the best defensive guards in college basketball. We know how he can shoot the basketball. He's playing point guard, you know, so he's in some ways living the dream of being able to be a shooter and a scorer, leading a team at point guard, and getting a great defensive assignment every night, playing with really good players. I think this team, you know, has enjoyed each other, and they've enjoyed playing hard and unselfishly together.
You talked a little bit about the JUCO guys. Kind of, you know, if you look at the contributors on this team, it's, you know, you've got a mix of.
I'm sorry.
You talking about the JUCO guys a second ago. I mean, you know, on this team, you've got a lot of guys either from JUCO or Division II or mid-major, and you've, you know, talked about bringing in guys like that. What stands out about those players, and how have, you know, guys like Chad, Denver, Cheney, you know, affected your team, you know, this season?
I think that again, there's a chemistry and a culture to every team, and I think, you know, Jay Billis has talked about the fact that you know, that he says that Auburn and Houston are 2 teams that finish first in effort. And I tell coaches when I clinic all the time, I said, look, I think your job is to get your kids to play as hard or harder than the opponent. We got to win, but also playing with effort and energy. And I think that guys that come from backgrounds where they don't have as many stars in front of their names, where they're hungry, humble, something to prove, it lets them do it every night. And I think there's also a level of gratitude that exists here at Auburn. I think our kids are grateful for Auburn to have given them the opportunity to play in Neville Arena in front of sellout crowds, or play in neutral site games where we have thousands of fans that are supporting us. And so they feel the love of the Auburn family. And rather than our guys feeling like y'all should be grateful because we're playing well, no, that's not how we feel. You're helping us. The Auburn family's helping us play well and helped us put us in a position. And so we go to work every day trying to reward the Auburn family for giving us this opportunity. So I think that you are more likely to get that from a 3-star than a 5-star, high major, been told how great he is his whole life, versus somebody that's just is in a position to show you. Let me show you.
Bruce, I want to ask you about SEMO. It just seems like every time he comes in there, not going to give you a lot of points, but not a lot of stats either, but just positive plus minus every time he's on the floor. Just what does he bring, especially as a guy that plays multiple spots for y'all in kind of inconsistent minutes?
You know, Chris Moore for Auburn reminds me of Stephen Pearl for Tennessee, in a sense that less was more. You know, they were both big scorers in high school, right? But came to the SEC level and were high-level defenders, high-level rebounders, unbelievable teammates. And when I say less is more, is look, Chris is going to take an open shot. He's going to have an offensive rebound, get you another possession, maybe shoot it himself. But he's not out there looking for shots. He's not out there looking for play calls or looking to score, which means when he's on the floor, the other 4 guys have got a better, by just percentage chance at get a shot. And so guys love playing with guys like Chris Moore or Dylan Cardwell or Stephen Pearl. They're going to set screens. They're going to guard their position. They're going to communicate their actions. They're going to make the other 4 guys out there better just by them being out there. And that's why sometimes you don't put your best 5 players out there on the floor together. You got to have a couple guys out there that can score, and everybody's got to be able to defend and rebound and do certain things. And again, sometimes less is more.